despite what their moms told them. They just aren't talented enough for radio. Unfortunately, anyone can have a show these days. Sean.
Well, I'm pretty hard to figure out sometimes. In fact, I can't even figure myself out sometimes, so don't you try to.
Joe.
You're an idiot and really a disloyal person.
This is the Cuse Militia. Now, those two unapologetically biased orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
It's the most bullshit thing I've seen in 30 years.
Welcome, orange men and ladies. Happy Monday. This is the Cuse Militia with Sean and Joe at Cuse Militia. On the socials, go there, join the militia. Thank you for tuning in, hanging out with us. We appreciate all of you. This is your Virginia Tech post game. Syracuse goes on the road and gets their first win in the ACC of the year, snapping an 8-game ACC road trip losing streak. They improved to 4-4, 1-3 in the ACC. We are a day late, and it's Joe's fault, just like it always is. So it's fine. You've probably listened. You've probably heard all of the stuff that you normally would if you listen to other podcasts, but you haven't listened to this one. So we're going to do our thing. But first, since we've been gone, before we get into the coach montage, Chris Bunch, he verbally committed to the Orange. He's forward, 6'8", 190. And he picked the Orange over Rutgers and Washington. I believe Syracuse, Rutgers, and Washington were in his top 3. So beating out old Coach Hop there, which is, that's good to see. And I'm pretty happy about that. So he gives Syracuse 5 players for the 2022 recruiting class. He joins Quadir Copeland, Justin Taylor, Malik Brown, and Peter Carey. And this 2022 class looked really good. After Malik Brown was the latest commit, and it's looking even better. And even Coach Boeheim said, Joe, that this is probably the best recruiting class he's ever had. So is that true? I don't know, but there's a lot of talent coming in for 2022.
Oh, for sure. And it's, again, with COVID and everything that's happened recently, it's really, really hard. I've always been not really 100% with the 247 Sports and all the ratings and stuff that come from some of these places, because I think there's some politics involved and stuff like that. But when you talk about depth and you talk about recruiting a guy for every single position, and the fact that I think we had at least 2 players that didn't even play their season last year in high school because of COVID. So, they haven't really been able to see them. It's going to say a lot, and I think that you're going to see this class move up a little bit more as they go through their high school class. And I think that Boeheim was kind of alluding to that he thinks that, and the stars and rankings might not necessarily say that, but he thinks that a lot of these guys are underranked and really haven't been looked at and analyzed good enough to even really for that to be accurate. So only time can tell, and we'll wait and see. But five guys for 2022 class, and it's still a year away. Like you said, you got to get here first.
Right, and they got to get here first. They got to put the jersey on. They got to get on the court. But we haven't done a lot of Syracuse basketball talk as we approach the basketball season, quickly approaching. But we do have a week off after the Boston College post game. Maybe we can squeeze something in then. It's just, if you don't, if it isn't your job, it's really difficult to get here and add those shows in when you do as much of the football stuff as we do, and with everything else that both of us have going on. So
they had the tip-off stuff, right?
Yeah, they had the tip-off stuff.
They had the tip-off stuff and their little scrimmage, and they've had the ACC, the ACC media day and stuff like that.
Not much came out of the ACC media day. I mean, it was...
I know, and they got the exhibition game against Pace College on Wednesday, so. They got some stuff, but like you said, the week we have off for football, we'll definitely be able to hit that up and get folks ready for the first game. I think the first actual game is the
11th, was it?
November. I think it's November 7th against I want to say Lafayette, but
okay. Well, we'll get into all that as soon as we can. I promise. I know we're a little bit behind, and I got a couple of DMs about it, but if there was anything pressing, we would hit it if we could. Real quick, Sean Tucker, 6th straight game with 100+ yards, breaks the school record. Right now, he leads the ACC in rushing yards and all-purpose yards. Until Michigan State had a bye week, so he's first nationally in rushing yards in the nation right now. But setting the school record, he's about 312 yards behind the single season rushing record currently held by Joe Morris. So, I mean, at the pace he's on, obviously he's going to explode that. And, the 44 talks commence even more. And like we've said, there's a lot of it. I don't see an issue with it being next year. And we've kind of said our piece on it. I'm not like a vigilant 44 jersey guy. I don't know what category that puts me in, but I mean, maybe the 34 goes down legendary, I mean,
yeah,
right. I mean, I don't know. Of course it would be cool, but he's making a mark with the 34. I mean, Joe Morris was what, 47, something like that. So, we'll see. But yeah. But just for all the fans that listen that are on that train, I get it. It's not that I don't get it at all. So it's not that. But all right, I have a lot to say. I had a fantastic time in Virginia Tech in Blacksburg, and it was an experience I would love to do again. And there's a little bit in the montage, and I'll hit some of that up. But first, getting there and trying to park, took a wrong turn, ended up going down Party Central. Boy, let me tell you, dude, blocks of just backyard parties. I'm not even kidding you. It was awesome. And if my kids weren't there, I'd have probably parked. But there was live bands in yards. There was keg stands being done. I mean, this was like typical pregame college stuff going on. And it has been a long time since I had gotten in the mix in any of that. And I took a wrong turn and ended up driving my minivan through it, or my wife's minivan. So I looked like a total dweeb, but it was cool. I got a lot to say about it. Had a great time there. But first, let's hear what Coach had to say after the game.
You got to speak up a little bit.
For this kind of stuff to be happening repeatedly in a season, more than once in a season.
Okay, you got to tell me exactly what you're talking about, because we may be talking about two different things.
Maybe personnel not knowing which personnel should be on the field.
Oh yeah, that's not good. No, that needs to stop today. Yeah, that's not good.
How did you try to deliver that message today?
That wasn't so much to the players.
To the coaches, right?
And then to the players.
How does that message, not knowing how football operation works, right?
Oh yes, you do.
I know what it's like on a sideline. Is it the position coach who makes sure that the right personnel is on the field out of a timeout?
I'm responsible for everything, so it's on me. My hands are on it. He throws okay, you guys. He throws okay. It's not the prettiest thing, but it'll get better. You know what I mean? It'll get better, and it may not change this year, but you got 2 more years for it to change. So he'll get better, but he did okay. It was a heck of a throw, and it was a heck of a. Go back and check the tape. Garrett's on his back.
What does it mean for Garrett? What does it mean for them too? And what does it mean for the team that there was a different result this time?
I was teasing Damian inside. I'm like, did you catch it the first time, the second time, or the third time? It just seemed like it was in his hands for a long time, but to see him make that play, and Garrett never saw the play. Go back and check the tape. Garrett's on his back. He never saw the play. He could barely breathe when I got to him, and he's like, I said, stop making all that doggone noise and went for a touchdown. Get up and act like you're a hero. It was a heck of a throw, and it was a heck of a catch, and I'm excited for Damian because he's a freshman. There's big things for him down the road. Oh, what a great crowd. They caused us so much trouble. They've got so much football experience. They're the veteran crowd. The way we had, Josh Ilo, when we lost Carlos and we had to move Aaron Service to a tackle, and then Josh Iloa came in at center. I want to say there was 10 yards in penalties because of the crowd, just like that, bang, bang, almost like they knew a new center was in there, and the communication between him and Garrett wasn't good enough on that drive, and it was causing us issues. Now they worked it out because once again, Garrett's getting up in there and boom, boom, boom. We had the one time where the guy tapped him and the ball was snapped, right? And it's like, what the heck? And when luckily we got that one, that's all crowd noise. And we did all the things we're supposed to do. We blasted the speakers and couldn't hear and all that kind of stuff. But when you have, like our crowd, when you have a crowd that really knows football and they know when to do it and how to do it, they can definitely be a 12th man. This crowd is amazing. Virginia Tech has an amazing crowd. I really felt that after we came out in the second half that we were gonna get something. I could be wrong, and we could fumble the ball, But I really felt we were gonna get something, and I just didn't want to. We took, I want to say, 3 legitimate shots at that thing, and I'm like, And then we had a really good play called, and something happened. If you guys haven't noticed, this is my happy face.
All right, the coach montage is first brought to us by Symbol. Okay, Symbol is the stock market for sports that allows you to profit off of your sports knowledge. On Symbol, you can trade sports teams like stocks, and every time your team wins, you earn cash. Use your sports knowledge on Symbol to buy low, sell high, and earn cash payouts when your team wins. Join the 7,000 plus early adopters who have started to invest into their favorite teams. Visit www.simbull.com to create a free account. And when you deposit, make sure to use the promo code SD to make that deposit risk-free. Visit Symbol.com and use the promo code SD, and your deposit will be risk-free. This means even if you lose money, Symbol will refund your initial deposit. No questions asked. Join Symbol and start investing and profiting from your favorite sports teams today. The Spotify Green Room app, you guys know what to do. Go there, download the app. It's free, iOS or Android stores. Get a username, email address, and a password. You can follow us at Cuse Militia there. You'll sign up for notifications. When those notifications go off, you can join us live, and you can either sit in the green room and listen to us chat, or you can request to speak. You request to speak, and if I approve it, you'll see a red microphone at your icon. Hit that icon to unmute yourself and say your piece. That's all you got to do. Visit your iOS or Android stores today for the Spotify Green Room app. All right, Joe, let's get into the montage here. Okay, obviously, first of all, it's worth pointing out that Syracuse did go 4 for 4 on fourth down conversions. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's the first thing. Through all of the debacle at the 1 yard line at the end of the second half there, okay, through all of that, there was a play run after Fuente called a timeout, right? So, and we missed it. Garrett was a quarterback sneak, and Garrett Schrader was short of the goal line. So thankfully, that timeout saved us. Back-to-back timeouts. I'm sitting in the stands, Joe. I got no idea what's going on. I think it's another mess. I know what it is now, obviously, because I've watched parts of the game. So I know what it is. But not having the right personnel out there, coach took responsibility for it. At the end of the day, He said that's on him. And Garrett Schrader in his press conference said, look, we're in the huddle. We all knew what to do. Everybody's shaking heads, yes, and then they line up wrong. And then there's issues. And then there's a miscount of players on the field. So, I mean, look, until you don't make the 19-yard field goal, kind of no harm, no foul, because when we did go for it, Virginia Tech calls a timeout, and we were short anyway, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So kind of a saving grace. We even got a shot at the field goal.
Yeah, that's just one of those situations where you just can't have, we went in a situation where we had 8 seconds to run basically any play that we wanted, any play in the playbook, a run, a pass. We had a timeout, went in there, drew it up, went out there. And like you said, the last second, I don't know if it was the players or the coaches or something, but, Courtney Jackson seen running on the field, and that made 12. we had 12 men on the field. So Dino had to run down and call timeout again. And again, obviously that's just a situation where Dino's going to have to take the blame because it's his job to make sure that everyone's prepared, especially out of a timeout. It's just a bad look. And I thought it was awful. And realistically in time when I was watching it, like I know being down 6 going into halftime and getting the ball, I knew we still had a chance. But that would have been the first things that I would have pointed to if we would have lost that game, is that whole sequence of events right there. It was just awful. And then even at the end when he decided to kick the field goal, I'm like, well, whatever. Like, you guys already messed it up. We can't try another play, so let's just kick a field goal.
Exactly.
And then doesn't go in. And it's like, oh, God.
So
again, it's one of those things where you never know what's going to work, what's not going to work. Something that might seem so simple sometimes goes awry, and it just seemed like it was just another situation at the end of the half where they just couldn't get it right.
They couldn't get it right, but at least Virginia, it wasn't the opponent scoring at the end of the half, which was the last 2 weeks, right? On some of that stuff. So look, I sat next to Andre Schmidt's parents, and I found out after that kick. Okay, now I wasn't saying anything derogatory, but I'll tell you how it went down. But I wasn't saying anything derogatory, but I did talk to his dad about that kick after the fact during halftime. So when I found out who I was sitting next to, and there were seven Syracuse fans in my section where I was sitting, and it was my family, 5, and then Andre Schmidt's mom and dad. So I talked to him during halftime, and he's like, and I'm like, well, what was it? You know, because his mom was raving about the Clemson game and the laces and stuff. She was really upset about him getting the extra point blocked, and then
of course,
and then the missed kick. And his dad said, and I agree with him. You know, it doesn't matter at that point when you're there. You got to put it through. And look, an awkward angle that close. Let's be honest. I mean, it is. I'm not making excuses, but it really is.
No, I mean that's one of those things too, where it's a situation where again, sometimes being so close with a field goal, especially at an angle like that, you don't have the distance for the ball to correct itself, and if it kind of comes off your foot a little, wrong, then something like that could happen. Because again, if that was 10 yards longer, who knows if that was traveling toward the left and it would have just kissed the inside of the uprights or not even touched it, but when it went right in, right, because it was so close, you don't got that time for it to adjust itself. So if you don't hit it, true, then those things can happen. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there's kicks in the 40+ yard range right down the middle that some kickers would rather do than that sometimes, depending on your kicker, but that's not the easiest kick.
It's not the easiest kick. I'm not making excuses, but I mean, it's fair to point it out.
He's got to make it, but
and even his pop said that. So look, Schrader passing, not great. Some in the dirt, some a little long, some too high. But all in all, dude, 16 for 34, which isn't great. 47%. Okay, we know that's the glaring issue. 47%, 236 yards. The 45-yarder to Alford to close the game out. Essentially, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Stood in there again and got walloped, just like he did on the 62-yarder. I think it was a 62-yarder to Pena a couple of weeks ago.
Against Clemson.
Against Clemson, right. So takes the hit, stands in there, knows it's coming. Just a strong throw, perfectly placed. Alford with the catch and basically sealed the deal. But as we progress with every game, Schrader is turning fans. Okay, I'm seeing it on social media. I mean, Schrader hasn't really changed. All he's done really is maybe honed in a little bit, or maybe a little bit more confidence, and let's be honest, a little bit more work with his receivers. I think the receivers and Schrader started from behind this year with Taj leaving and Tommy starting the first 3 games. I think Obviously, had we made this decision in the beginning of the year like Coach wanted to, I feel like these growing pains would be working themselves out, maybe a couple weeks ago already. So we'll just see how it goes, right, Joe? As long as there's improvements to be made, we'll call them out. But 236 yards, pretty good. No interceptions. He made one bad throw that I remember that was a little scary. That could have been picked off, but everything else was either really bad and no one could catch it, or it was right where it should have been. Some high percentage stuff, right? So
well, there was definitely some situations where he only put it in a chance where like his guys could catch the ball. I think that Quealy really had a good opportunity there on that ball in the end zone. I thought that went through his arms. I don't know.
Sherrod Johnson had one too.
What a catch!
Sherrod Johnson had one he should have caught. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then it's obvious that him and Courtney Jackson, they got a nice little underneath thing going there with a slot receiver, and Devon Cooper as well. So, I mean, I know he only had 4 catches for 36 yards, but Devon Cooper, obviously, we talked about him hopefully coming in as that transfer older guy and being able to help, and I do think that he is going to help. Sherrod Johnson and Quealy, although they did catch each a ball themselves, and they were pretty big balls, and as far as catching
they were what
they were pretty important catches on the drive. On the drives where they caught those
I
balls.
thought you said they were big balls. Okay, go on.
Oh yeah, no, I did. I just knew you were going there. So the thing with Garrett Schrader is unlike DeVito, right? DeVito definitely has a better arm, right? And has probably more accurate, stronger arm. But if he's not accurate, then his guys have no chance of catching that ball. So that's the one thing that Garrett Schrader, I think, he's not as accurate as DeVito, but he also doesn't throw as powerful of a ball, so that even if it's a little behind
talking about velocity.
Yes. And that's just, you can see it going across the middle with Courtney Jackson and stuff like that. They're starting to realize how he throws the ball and how they got to use their body more to block off the defender, because it might not be right there, but he's going to give you a chance to catch it. Throwing back shoulder throws as well. So, I mean, he does things as far as in his throwing and passing game that, gives some of these receivers better opportunities if it was Tommy and he wasn't accurate or wasn't having a great game, because if it's not accurate, it's a little behind you. The way that Tommy throws it, there's no way you're catching it. And then obviously what he gives us with eluding the rushers and not getting sacked and running, that's obviously just a completely different level than what Tommy could do. So, yeah, he's definitely turning fans, and he turned me a long time ago. I said from the beginning.
Yeah. Well, yes. And I mean, you made the prediction. It didn't come true, but you did make the preseason prediction that Garrett Schrader would start the first game. So, but
yeah, I thought it was going to be the whole season.
I
thought
think
it should have been.
I think obviously, though, he, like, to your point that you've made many times, and I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but he does and has given the Orange the best shot to win, and you can only imagine if he was in for Rutgers, and we could be sitting here at 5-3 and 1 game away from a bowl game going into a Boston College at home. A struggling Boston College to, moderately. So,
no, in most seasons, you don't lose those 3 close games like that. I mean, it's just,
that's true.
We should have won one of those games. So
absolutely. So we talked about the Alford catch, which was great. It was, I believe, his only catch of the game too.
Yep.
Yeah. So, look, did you watch Alford's post-game press conference?
No.
Oh, dude. Oh, man. I could watch him every week give a post-game presser, dude. He brings swag to post-game pressers. He's good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Okay. You should definitely go back
and
watch it. He finishes a lot of his answers up with, yeah, so, like, he's got nothing else to say, but he's good. I enjoy watching those press conferences with him. The halftime speech, I don't know what was said. There was a lot of talk about it to Coach during the press conference. So I guess reporters were in there. He must have been doing some yelling. All the players were asked about it, and then he was asked about it. So, he was asked about it, and then all the players were asked about it. So, whatever he said seemed to work. But I want to finish with this. He gave a nod to the Hokie crowd. Look, I wasn't nervous going in here for any, we talked to Gio about the students and, how it was a little rowdy. And dude, I saw kids before the game. I mean, they were just getting rocked. I mean, flat out. They were just getting rocked. And I'm like, man, this could be rowdy, So we're walking up.
Especially considering the game started at 12:30. So.
Yes, dude. Some girl tapped on my wife's shoulder and said, have you seen my dad? We're totally wasted. And Amy's like, I don't know. What's he look like? Oh, dude. And she's calling him. She's like, I'm in our seats, which clearly she wasn't. But anyway, there's plenty of shenanigans going on. I will say, I had 3 different people come up to me and welcome us to Blacksburg. Very hospitable. I never would have expected this. I had one woman come up to me and say, welcome to Blacksburg. We went to the Dome a while back, and I think she said it was a basketball game, and we were so welcomed by your fans, and you guys are so great in the Dome, and we were so hospitable. And I was blown away by their fans. They were great. There was some we were surrounded by Hokie fans. My son had a big Syracuse foam finger, and he kept hitting this guy. I'm like, telling my wife, I'm like, dude, he keeps hitting the guy with the foam finger. So I tap on his shoulder. I'm like, I'm sorry, I took the foam finger away. He was so cool about it. And there was a family there, and me, Joe, I'm loud, and I was screaming, and you can imagine during a Garrett Schrader touchdown run, or the Sean Tucker one, the first one, on the first possession, when the crowd quiets down and I'm screaming by myself, it could get, so I apologize. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't help myself. And the dude turned around, he's like, dude, it's cool, man. You work for your team. You do you. So they were really good. Now, as far as the tradition there, which doesn't come because I watched some of it on TV, and I've been watching it on TV for years. It doesn't come across on TV like it does when you're in the stands. The key rattling on third downs, the first down chance that they have, the Enter Sandman thing, all of that was amazing, and they have got some tradition there. They really do. So hats off to the Hokie Nation and for their hospitality and everything from start to finish. I enjoyed myself. It was a great time. So I would go again in a heartbeat.
Nice.
Yeah. So, all right.
That must have been. That's awesome, dude. That's an awesome way to. I mean, think about it. We were down, 9 points with 5 minutes to go.
Yes, and I told Dylan, I'm like, look, that could have been the dagger. I mean, there were so many points scored in the fourth quarter. I don't have it in front of me. 21 to 10. Syracuse scored 21 points in the 20. They had 20 points going into the fourth quarter, and then they scored 21 to pull this thing out. So,
how about Trevor Pena, by the way?
He's amazing, and I hope he's okay. I haven't heard anybody be asked about him.
When he was running out, he was holding his wrist pretty good. So we'll wait and see. And I know there was a situation, too, where Elmore looked like some type of soft cast on his hand. He, I think, was out. I want to say when he made the tackle, when I thought the guy from Virginia Tech was going to return that for a touchdown, the kickoff or the punt or whatever. But, yeah, Trevor Pena, dude. That 51-yard that got us right back on track. We got down there.
There was a momentum shift for sure. Mm-hmm. That was the first touchdown to close the gap.
Yep. And our defense
stepped up when they needed to. You're waiting for it all game. I can't tell you how many times I said to Dylan, I said, there's got to be a turnover. We got to win this game with a turnover. I know. But
they had 2 guys rush for more yards than anyone's ran all year.
They had their first 100-yard rusher, concerning. Right? So it is
a little concerning.
It is, but I don't know if I would put too much on it. They got their first 100-yard rusher of the season with what's his name, Malachi Thomas. But
he looked impressive.
Yeah, he looked good, and they haven't been able to really run the ball that good. The other thing I noticed too, real quick before we get into fan feedback, was Virginia Tech, and I noticed this during the game. Like, what the hell is going on with the penalties? Because they got every 50-50 call, which is totally annoying. And the pass interference call on their last possession right before the Hail Mary was a garbage call. And I'll sit here and tell you all day, I think that was to get him closer so he could throw it to the end zone. I really do, man. I mean, how do you look at that and not think that as an opposing fan there? I mean, Anyway, my point is, Virginia Tech is the fewest penalized team in the country with the fewest penalty yards as well. So that's amazing to
1 for 5 yards.
Yeah, 1 for 5 yards, one offside penalty.
Yeah, and you're right. They got every 50-50. That catch on the sideline, which I do think it was a catch going back and looking at it. But they called it not a catch, and they said, okay, there's enough evidence, which, I mean, if you called it that way, then you can argue that there was not a lot of evidence. But either way, you go away from that one, and you talk about Quealy's catch that they said hit the ground, but they called the catch. They go and they went to commercial, didn't show too many
replays.
I know you were there, but yeah, even on TV they didn't show a lot of replays. So I'm like, okay.
The replays aren't great at the stadium either.
No, and then you come back and all of a sudden they're saying, oh well, they called it incomplete. And then there was a point in the game where, who was it? Their running back number 5, Blackshear. He had that one catch. It was like a little screen pass for like 30 yards. And that was kind of the same situation with Quealy. Like that, it looked like it hit the ground.
It did.
And it took it off the ground. I think it did too. And they called it a complete pass, and they went and looked at it, and they kept it that way. So, like you said, and when it came to all the 50-50 calls with stuff, especially like that, they got them for sure.
They definitely did. All right, it's time to hear from you right after this. All right, fan feedback is going to commence here shortly, but it is brought to us by Symbol. Symbol is the sports stock market that allows you to profit off of your sports knowledge. There are 2 ways to make money on Symbol. First, every time your team wins, you earn cash. You earn a cash win payout. Second, just like the stock market, if you think the team is going to increase in value, you can buy low and sell high for a profit. Use the promo code SD to make your first deposit risk-free. This means even if you lose money or just decide the market isn't for you, Symbol will refund your initial deposit. No questions asked. Visit Symbol.com today. That's www.simbull.com today. All right, Spotify Green Room app. Go to your iOS or Android store, download the app. Username, password, and email address is all you need to sign up. You can follow us at Cuse Militia. You can get in the green room there. You can listen, or you can request to speak. If I approve your request, you will have a red mic on your icon. Hit the red mic and unmute yourself and say your piece. And you don't even need to just follow us. You can follow anybody else, and you can also start your own thing. There's an option to actually record the room, and it'll email you the recording. You then can upload it to any podcast platform and have your own podcast without any equipment. That's it. Boom. Bada bing, bada boom. iOS or Android stores, Spotify Green Room app. Go there today. Download that. All right, Joe. Let's see what we got here. All right. Let's start with this. At EJ62564. Stop! Everyone, just stop. The close losses suck, but they got blown out they've got blown out the last couple of seasons. In every game this year, it's getting better. Leave them alone, cheer them on, and stop calling for the coach's head after every mistake or call that you don't like. So, look, I understand the frustration with some of this stuff. I really do, and we've been frustrated with it. We've talked about it here. I don't, if we were treading water or it was getting worse, Joe, I could understand the calls, but I'm still getting text messages from people I know. I'm seeing stuff on Twitter too, but during the game, I'm getting text messages because people know I'm there talking about, oh, he needs to be fired. This is baloney. They're going to lose this game because of poor coaching again. And I was just like, they end up winning the game. So, let's just figure out and see what happens at the end of this year. I think, I'm not trying to get ahead of myself either, but next year, just think, Garrett Schrader's got 2 years left after this year. And if he decides to stay, and just think about what that could look like and how we were with Dungy at one point and how we ended up with Dungy at one point, the most recency bias as far as an example goes. So,
Oh yeah,
and
that's the thing. I mean, again, you have to be able to put perspective on it, right? And it's not like we're getting blown out. The Rutgers game,
yeah, that's
obviously,
Earl's point. Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't want Rutgers was in the beginning of the season, so that's very difficult. I still again think that we should have been at a point where we should have just already had the starter, and is what it is. We lost by 10, and it was while we were splitting quarterbacks during a quarterback competition, still trying to figure stuff out, right? And when you look at last year's team, we went 1-10, and of those 10 losses, only 2 of them were within 10 points. We had a 3-point loss at home against Boston College and a 7-point loss at home against NC State. Other than that, we got beat by 10 at least every single game. So again, when you go down the line and you're losing by 25 to North Carolina, 11 to Pittsburgh, 14 to Duke, 17 Liberty, 26 to Clemson, 24 to Wake Forest, 30-0 to Louisville. You lose by 24 to Notre Dame. That's not competing. That's not close. That's ugly. That is when you can start talking the way that you're, talking as far as, the coach is this, the coach is that. I can understand last year. But I think that this year, if, when you're talking about 3-point losses and 10-point losses while you're still trying to figure stuff out, and you can point to 1 or 2 things that are, really just losing you the game and you're just that close to getting over the hump, then it's a different kind of story. I mean, we've been competing the whole season, not even the same team.
And, I guess there's no official number of what Dino's making a year, right? But you got to imagine that just historically speaking, it's not as going to be as competitive as some of these other schools that aren't private schools. So when you got a coach like Dino Babers, who's dedicated, who has the culture ideas and how that, he's raising these kids up to be men and all of this stuff. Now you can, some of the analogies are too much for me. I get it. Like totally. But his analogies, sometimes it's too much, but, you got a pretty good coach in Dino Babers, and it's time to shit or get off the pot. It's that time. Okay. So I'm willing to extend the leash. Do you guys want to start over again? Because I don't want to start over with another coach again. I really don't.
No, not with a season that's got the trajectory of this. I mean, obviously the next 4 games kind of matter, but I think again that game and just the fact of how we've lost the 3 games before that, again, it's showing improvement and it's showing that you're on your way up. And again, if going into next year when you know who your quarterback's going to be and you can have a whole spring game and a whole off season and a whole summer camp to get prepared with your starting quarterback that is doing what he's doing now, especially with Tucker coming back, you have an identity now. We haven't have an identity since Dungy's been there. So now we have it. Now we can work on it and we can try to, fine tune the craft, and it's only going to be better with an off season going into next year.
Absolutely. At MF Brightside, overcome the intangibles at times, ineptitude, and the down south ACC officiating. Absolutely. Amen to that. Players are still bought in. Much needed momentum. Could be building a special year next year if stay the course and get an assistant to manage the clock. Look, I believe Coach Babers when he says look, he's taking the blame, but the personnel issues, that's the one thing that's going to kill us. That, and we could have very easily have lost that game with the special teams that we had too. Okay, the blocked extra point taken back for 2. That was brutal. By the way, my gosh, you're going to block the kick, but. My gosh. I mean, how many points did special teams cost us in that game?
That's a 3-point turnaround.
That's a 3-point turnaround, and then the field goal deal. So,
right. I mean, we should have been up. We shouldn't even have needed that second touchdown in the 4th quarter too. So, and on top of that, I mean, really, it's not even the kick returning; it's the kicking, because again, our punting had 1 bad punt.
Yeah.
I mean, their punter had as many yards as our punter had in 4 kicks, and we kicked 5 times. So.
Jeez, right. So, Yeah, that I know which one you're talking about too. It went like 30 yards or something like that. It was really bad. So, the ACC officiating again. Obviously, I mean, we kind of hit it up already. I really do think that last play was to make things exciting for the fans, because without it, I don't think he's getting that ball in the end zone. Maybe just barely, but
no. But I'll tell you what, though, it wasn't terrible.
That was a terrible call, Joe.
No, I'm not saying that specific call. I'm saying as far as the rest throughout the whole game, it wasn't awful.
No, it wasn't awful. And Syracuse played pretty disciplined. Look, there was that false start backed up against the end zone. Remember when they thought they got a safety? You could hear the crowd just erupt. They thought that they tackled Sean Tucker for a safety. Yeah, the play before that was the false start. I mean, dude, I'm sorry. That was so loud, I couldn't even hear myself think. I mean,
sure.
It was loud. That was the loudest point of the game, by the way, was when they thought they got the safety, but before that too. And so those things are going to get you, and that's why it is so amazing to have fans again. Okay? So, Virginia Tech, they dealt without fans. Everybody did, for the most part, last year. So those fans were just as eager to get back and make noise and get back into their groove too. And they did a good job, and those things are going to happen. But all in all, I don't think the officiating was bad, but that one call I thought was pretty awful. I'll leave it at that. At CNY 315, the losses were tough, yes, but 3 came by 3 points each. Dino clearly has players engaged. That's the second person that said that. Driven, that I picked. Driven, committed. He needs to just improve some in-game decision-making. Very happy for the team. A well-earned win. Just a huge momentum booster for this team, getting to come home and play Boston College before they go for the rest of the gauntlet. And they're going to get a break in between that too, which is going to be much needed for this Syracuse team. But yeah, the players are engaged, man. And I talked about it last week. I think we mentioned it about, just getting this, like you said, to your point just a couple minutes ago, the identity, right? Tommy decided to transfer. We all knew it was looming. We don't know what it was like in the locker room. We don't know what it was like in the locker room with Taj. Like all of these things, like sometimes once that stuff's weeded out and gone, there's like a pressure lifted from these guys, and they can finally just focus on the task at hand, which is playing football, and and not have to be surrounded by the quarterback questions and all the other drama. So I really think that stuff makes a huge difference. So at Cuse Waterboy, it wasn't until my older years that I realized marijuana isn't a gateway drug. Syracuse football is to cocaine. Let's go, he says. Yes. Yes, it is brutal. And, I've been at some close games, but I didn't realize this until I was reading that. But I've never been to an away game. I did realize it, but I didn't think about it. I've never been to an away game before. And that was intense. That was an intense game. I mean, Joe, what it's like watching on TV or even being at one. But when you're there and you're in enemy territory and you're thinking they're about to pull this win out, and you got to walk to your car with your head down, and I'm sure everybody's going to be cool about it, but I hate putting on a plastic smile and being like, yeah, good game. I hate that. And that's what I was thinking about until, they actually marched down and scored that first touchdown and then stopped them on defense. But yeah, Syracuse, definitely cardiac Cuse. We don't call them that for anything, right? At Turf on Fire, Dino still sucks. The defense is overrated. Clemson, only the good ACC performance and haven't forced turnovers. And Schmidt is garbage, along with the entire special teams unit, but Schrader is a warrior, and we're due for some magic. Okay. So, but the Syracuse defense total defense is ranked 27th in the country. So, it's really good. They did allow some absorbent amount of rushing yards. What was the total? 260.
Yeah.
And even after that game, the rush defense, they're ranked 43rd, which is
yeah. I'm hoping that this stuff doesn't rear its ugly head, because I feel like this is what happens almost every year with us, because I feel like we get a couple injuries or we don't have the depth on the defensive line, and then these kind of run heavy teams start to figure it out against us, and then we have to bring too many guys in the box, sell out against the run, because otherwise they're going to run, and then you allow one-on-ones and with your receivers and your corners, and some big plays could happen. That's what happened with Wake Forest. We just, we're in a situation now where he broke a bunch of different long runs, and this quarterback was really never legitimately going to beat us with his arm. So Virginia Tech's offense wasn't good enough to probably beat our defense, even though they almost did because of some mistakes. And I'd say that our special teams, other than our return game, is hot garbage.
Yeah, that's got to get fixed, man. The punting situation is what it is, guys, unfortunately, I think. And I do think Schmidt, he's already proven it. I mean, it wasn't he got lucky. It was a whole season. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
yeah.
Look, I know it doesn't look good. What is he? He's like 7 for 11 on the year, I believe, for field goals with a long of 48, if I remember right. But his extra points, what was he on extra points? He's now got another one of those that's going to be an issue too. Let's see.
It's just a situation when you really sit down and when you look at the whole thing, right? Like
7 for 12 on field goals, 29-31 on extra points. Yeah, it's not great.
No, it's not. And again, like I said, you look at it, and against Florida State, didn't have James Williams as our punter. That's freshman, true redshirt freshman punter that's got a scholarship. But we had Schmidt missed a PAT, and then we had a kicker that averaged 33 yards a punt. So, on top of the holding, we know what happened with that. But I mean, is it a situation where our kicking team and not putting ourselves in better position as far as like field position and stuff like that, and making PATs? And against Wake Forest, same thing. I mean, James Williams, he came back, he averaged 30 yards a punt off of 6 punts. Longest was 37, awful. Andre Schmidt missed a field goal, we lose by 3. And then when you fast forward to Clemson, obviously we know what happened there, because we know that Andre Schmidt missed that field goal.
I'm not pegging him with that one, though. I mean,
no, but at the end of the day, you have a situation where your kicking team probably could have put you, as far as punter and kicker, could have put you in a better position, or put you in a position to win the game in all three of those aspects. So,
I mean, Virginia Tech had pretty good field position after every punt, the whole game. They had decent field position after just about every punt that I could remember, because I remember cringing a lot.
It happened a lot in those 3 games we lost by 3 points. That's what I was saying. It's a lot of different aspects, but good special teams. I mean, who knows if you add on 20 more yards in field goal, if the team doesn't get to go down and get in field goal position after just 2 first downs, and just saves points. And then when you have guys missing PATs and field goals and stuff, it's like, I don't know. This just wouldn't have happened last year, and I bet you it has at least cost us 1 game.
At least, yeah. Top fan Dominic on Facebook. I'm so glad we won. Schrader is a dog. Sounds nuts, but Tucker has to be excited that he does not have to do all the heavy lifting. Either Dino has to take the clock management from Gilbert at the end of halves, or Gilbert has to go, which I think he will be fired. Also desperately needs special teams coaching. The D is still young and showed some major warts today. The 2 opening drives giving up TDs in the long run in the fourth quarter. This team is dangerous. We can beat anyone the rest of the way with Schrader and Tucker, and this defense getting more mature. I can definitely see us contending. So he goes on, but it's a screenshot, and I didn't realize I had to tap on it to see more. So I guess there's even more than that. But good comment, Dominic. I appreciate it. Look, Schrader there's going to be, we've already heard him, the Schrader Dungy comparisons. Our buddy Tyler texted me last night and was kind of poking around about it. And I'm just going to tell you what I told him. I said, by the end of this thing, it's quite possible that these guys are very similar. I don't care what coach says. It's very possible that at the end of this thing, Schrader could hold a statistical, to say the least, advantage over Dungy. If he can reel his passing game in and get that a little better, Schrader could possibly be just as good, if not better, than Eric Dungy. And the legend of Eric Dungy is still hanging around. So with that said, I don't think there's any doubt. Like I said, we got a year and a half left of Schrader, and hopefully he stays here and finishes out his tenure here.
Yeah, I just don't. So again, I know that Dungy, I know he ran, and I could just be misremembering, but by the time he got his junior senior year, when he was really, doing very well, especially his senior year, he had really good receivers, and it looked to me like I just don't remember him running as much as Schrader.
He doesn't in the amount of runs. So not just the amount. I'm sorry, the average. Schrader's averaging 5.7, and we'd have to go back and look. But if you just put that into comparison with Sean Tucker's averaging 0.44 yards more a carry at 6.1.
No, I know. But I'm just saying, as far as I just remember that Dungy, he didn't really run this much. So my point is that to me, they're two different guys. Because even to me, they ran a little bit differently as well. Like to your point, I'm not going to sit here for the next 2 years and compare, Garrett Schrader and Dungy. But I can't. I'd be lying if I said that he doesn't remind me of him a little bit versus DeVito, right?
Right, absolutely. So the whole clock management thing, I'm that's a conversation for the next game because I didn't because I'm over it. The D is still young and showed some major warts today. Yeah, I mean we got run over. I mean look, these things will improve. You got to think, getting the short fields and doing what they did at the end of the game, taken after a long run, by the way. So the defense stopped Virginia Tech in the fourth quarter after that long run by Thomas, and it was 40. I believe it was 47 yards. That was that one, right? Yes, it was
for the touchdown, right?
No, not for the touchdown. The one in the fourth quarter that got him up past the 50-yard line into Syracuse territory. But either way, after that first down and that long run, it was a 3-and-out, and that's exactly what Syracuse needed with, what was it, a minute 15 left or whatever the hell it was.
No, yeah. So Thomas, he ran a 47-yard touch. So he got caught a little earlier in the game, but with the 5:36 to go up 9, he ran a 47-yard touchdown.
Okay. What was the one in the fourth quarter?
And then we got the ball. They punted it off. That was still fourth quarter. Then they kicked it off. Pena ran it back for 51 yards, and then we ended up scoring 7 plays, 2:57 left. So with 2:28, we kicked off down 2.
Right.
And what happened was that Virginia Tech, we had 3 timeouts. Virginia Tech, they came out and actually passed on the first down and got 13-yard first down. We used the timeout, and then right after that, it was a 3-and-out.
Oh, you're right. That's right. We ended up sacking him on third down too. Not only that, but just sacking him too. So
right.
The defense did what they had to do, and Schrader said it. He must listen to the podcast here. Joke with the "don't bend but don't break" defense, and he said the same thing, and they didn't, and they did exactly what they needed to do to put Syracuse in a spot to go back down with a chance, and they did it amazingly.
Yeah, and just think about what could happen when they get this damn time management stuff down.
The time management and the special team stuff.
Right, but I'm talking, and they were saying too. Oh well, good. What someone was saying last week about good luck with the 2-minute offense and the this and the that, and you can't throw. I feel like at the end of the half and the games, we've had no problem. Schrader's had no problem
moving
going down the field and putting us in a position to win. To me, he seems clutch. He seems like a guy that can actually do that part and may struggle earlier in games when it comes to clutch time. Though he's ready to go.
He's like a wind-up toy. He's got to run a little bit, little RPO, and then little dink and dunk, and then he's warmed up and he's ready to go. I mean, he did a good job. And, I mean, no doubt. I rattled off his stats already. 174 yards rushing, too. It's amazing. So, Robert, speaking of Schrader, seems like Schrader clicked today. This was a big win. Very happy for these guys. Big win. Good. Big win in the sense that obviously, Virginia Tech is not what they are or have been, but a big win in the sense that you snap a 3-game losing streak, you snap an 8-game losing streak against the ACC on the road, and you've got a little bit of momentum coming into a very important game, a must win against Boston College. Steve, team played hard today. Still same issues, penalties, special teams play, coaching. Something needs to change. Babers is terrible in clock management. Lucky to win. Not lucky to win. I don't think they were lucky to win. I think they did what they needed to do to win. They just closed this one out. The other ones were so close to closing out, and they just didn't close them out. They closed this one out. That's what happened. This could have gone the same way the other three went, very easily. I mean, we all watched the same game, right?
Yeah.
So
I was just looking at it like, well, no, we're not going to lose by 3.
Well, we lose by 2
this time.
Yeah,
there's that blocked PAT. There that it goes, because that's a 3-point turnaround, right?
Right,
so,
we'd have been up by 1.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's the other things that we actually broke too this week. It was we were on a 10-game losing streak in the month of October.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So basically, the last 2 years we haven't won a game in October into this year. And then the other thing that I read as well. Those are 2 stats that I read. I don't know what site it was on, but they were interesting stats to me. The other one was that this is the first time since, I want to say they said like 2003 or I don't know exactly. I mean, it was something like maybe it was 2000, the last 21 years. Only 9 games Syracuse has had over 500 yards of offense with no turnovers. And this is one of 9 games since 2000.
Despite, and like, look, first, what was it? Was it the first drive of the game? Tucker dropped the ball, put the ball on the ground. Which, I mean, you tell me. I never watched the replay of it. It didn't look like a fumble. Even in the replays, it didn't look like a fumble. It didn't look like enough evidence.
When we got it back?
They called a fumble with a recovery by Syracuse, but at first they called no fumble. So I knew we were getting the ball regardless.
Oh, yeah. No, that was a fumble.
Was okay. All right, fair enough. I mean, even the replays I saw just didn't. I couldn't see it. So anyway, but to my point, not Syracuse. Knock on wood, they just haven't turned the ball over much this year. They just haven't, and thank God.
Yeah, well, they haven't gotten a lot of turnovers either.
No, not like last year and stuff, but no, and the other thing too is Garrett Williams was out. You're getting a lot. We're having some issues. Carlos Vettorello looks like he's probably going to be out for at least Boston College. Okay, he huddled off on crutches, and it's just that time of year.
Elmore was out.
Elmore was out a little bit.
He had something on his hand, and Trevor Pena was holding his ankle.
Service had to move over, and Iloa came in, and Garrett Schrader's still trying to talk to everybody and snap the ball. So, why you look confused?
No, I'm just listening, bud.
Oh, okay. So, anyways, my point is that the offensive line stuff is starting to pile up, and
no, I think it's all over the place.
It is. It's all over the place, but they're still doing a good job. I think the big thing is that these guys who get plugged in, I think they've done pretty decent so far. Well, we've seen them a couple times, right? So they come in and play center. Obviously, got to clean some of that up, but some of that could be nerves and just experience. So,
well, I think, and I'm speaking even on the other side of the ball as far as injuries and depth and stuff. I feel like that's kind of why we gave up the rushing yards that we did. And you're seeing so many guys coming in and out, and it's like I don't see Kingsley Jonathan for it seems like a quarter. And maybe it's strategically moving guys in and out. I don't know, but it seems to me like there's just a lot of guys banged up that are just trying to get whatever reps they can and just get through the game and get to this bye week, which is ridiculous that we have to play 9 games before we get a bye. But
our buddy Captain Patrick, we had some stupid game management. A few calls go against us, and come on, Pat. We had some stupid game management. A few calls go against us that he put that we. Okay, in my defense, it says we. It must be that were BS, but still found a way to win, and I'm happy with that. Absolutely. That's the attitude. Obviously, we can pick apart every game, and we do, and fans do, and we do, and we all do a damn good job of it. But at the end of the day, a W is a W. So,
no, and what's crazy too is that because we're fans of Syracuse, we only pay attention to Syracuse. I guarantee you that if you pay attention to the other teams, like the other fans, I bet you Virginia Tech fans
Well,
are
Virginia
probably thinking the same thing.
They were chanting Fire Fuente at the end of that game.
Oh, just like Dino, right? And there's probably guys still sitting around.
Didn't come up
and
through the
fans
TV, but
talking
they
about
said
certain types of play calling and certain types of this and game management. It's just it happens to every single team. It's just we only pay attention because we're uber focused against, watching Syracuse and seeing what we can pick apart of Babers.
Yeah, and doing the, just to your point real quick, we got 1 second here and then we're going to close this thing out. But in doing the preview stuff, and so I like to read all the fan stuff. I go on Twitter. It's the same stuff, guys. It's the same stuff for Virginia Tech. I've already started to look at Boston College, just a little bit of the same stuff. So if a team's struggling, the fans are in the same boat. It's the same thing, right? So,
yeah.
It is what it is.
Whether you're losing by 1 or losing by 20, as long as you're losing, you're probably hearing the same thing.
Yeah, but let's be honest. We were losing by 20 a lot last year, and losing by 3 or 1 or whatever ain't that bad. I guess it gives you some faith, right? A loss is a loss.
We're in it till the end of the game.
That's right.
When you come down to one game, you can pick out 2-3 games or 2-3 plays in a game that would have overturned that game. Then you know that you were competing and that you're right there. Absolutely.
So, look, we appreciate everybody tuning in. Sorry we were a day late.
Sorry.
Joe's sorry. He was a day late. We will be back tomorrow. Normal time, same bad channel for the preview of Boston College. We'll talk to you then. For Joe, I'm Sean. Thanks, guys. We're out of here.
Peace.
Dominic and Zach, appreciate you guys. Okay.